Why did you choose Brevard? Like, what drew you into this college?
Well, there were a lot of things. We knew David and Lynn, and so we knew that they totally loved the place, and so we were very intrigued. And then come in, and of course, it's a great place to be. It's a great campus with the creek, with the mountains, with the just with the town, everything here. But at the end of the day, it was the people. Well, it was the people and the position of the college. So just great people here, meeting with faculty, meeting with students, meeting with staff, just seeing how welcoming everybody was. And we just wanted to be a part of a community like that. So we were really drawn to that. And then also the college has done, everybody has done a lot of hard work over the last 10 years to get Brevard College in a position that's pretty strong, that a lot of other colleges would envy. That is, at a place where we can start dreaming about what we want to be and where we want to go, and then be able to get there. So being a part of this community, looking out over the next 10 years and thinking there are a lot of exciting things that could happen here, and just being with great people. So that's what drew us.
Did you come here before you applied?
No, I did not. I try. It may have been. It may have been unwise of me, but we trusted David and Lynn, and we just knew they loved it, and so we thought there's a lot to it. But we had never been to Asheville, never been to Western North Carolina, never been out this way until after we applied, and they said, "All right, we'd like to talk to you more." And so then we came to town for the first round of interviews and really liked it. And so then Trish and I brought our girls, who were 10 and 13 years old. They didn't know that we were applying here or interviewing here, but we told them we were taking a little family vacation to the mountains of North Carolina, and we brought them out here and stayed in an Airbnb outside of town and just checked it out and went hiking and saw the waterfalls, and we fell in love as a family.
So, now that you're on campus and now that things are really rolling, how are you planning to get involved and connect with students?
Yeah, so there's been a lot going on since we've gotten here, getting the girls in school, getting a lay of the land, figuring out Jones Hall roof, stuff like this. And I've had opportunities to sit down with a bunch of faculty members and staff members and listen to them, starting to meet donors and trustees and some students, but not nearly as much as I want or we want. And so we're trying to do a bunch of different things. So we try to eat lunch and dinner regularly in the dining hall as a chance to interact. And also I'm working with Chloe to figure out, are there formal ways, are there official opportunities that we could set up? And so in 2 weeks, I think it's April 5th, the SGA is having an ice cream social and cornhole at the baseball game, and so we will have that be a meet the president type of event, hanging out that, going to Spring Fest, starting to go to late night, reaching out to meet with RAs, meet with SAC, meet with other student groups, and so it's just a matter of getting all those set up and getting out there.
So, in your time here, what do you want to accomplish?
Oh, goodness. It's a hard question to answer. Mostly, I don't know. What I do know is that as far as we can tell, if y'all will have us, we would love to finish our career here, Trish and I, and be here until we retire, and there's no place that we'd rather be. And so that's going to be 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, whatever that is. And so thinking out that far in the future, I don't know what Brevard College looks like then. That's a long way out, and there's a lot to happen. What I do know is that whenever I retire, whenever we leave Brevard, I want to have been part of a group, part of a faculty, part of an administration, part of a college that leaves Brevard College in a much better position than even we are in now. And so to me, the great fun, what's exciting, and the joy in all of this comes from being able to sit down with campus and dream up, where do we want to go, what do we want to do, what do we want to be as a college 10 years from now or whatever, and then figuring out a plan to get there. So I'm really excited over the next couple of years to participate in that process, to do that, to try to put together a plan for the next 10 years. And I'm really looking forward to and committed to helping us achieve those goals, whatever they end up being. But what those goals are, I don't really have a vision of right now. I guess I would say this, that I do know there's a lot that's special about us as a college. I think it's the community, it's the compassion and care. It is experiential education, our commitment to that as a mission, our commitment to that in the classroom, in our lifestyles, as being an active community. There's a lot that's special about us. What I know is that 10 years from now, in an even more strong way than now, we are able to make a claim that for students who come to Brevard College, they get the best college education they could possibly get. You as students in coming to Brevard, if it's the right fit for you, you're going to go further from Brevard than any other college or university in the nation, and further than if you go to Harvard or Oxford or App State or wherever, because a really good education is all about engagement. It's all about relationships, and we have a faculty and a staff and a community that is really excellent at engaging students in relationship and in education. So I do know that 10 years from now we will be boasting that our students go further from Brevard than they would have gone from any other place they might have attended.
Throughout this journey, and this can include like even before us, but who are some of the biggest influences in your life, and how have they shaped you to be who you are today?
Oh, wow. So that's a great question. So I'll be, well, it's just true, even if it's cheesy. So for me, my mom and dad were huge influences in my life. They are both gone now, both deceased. But my mom was wear her heart on the sleeve, passionate, totally loyal and committed, do anything for her family and those that she loved, and very nurturing and empowering. And my dad was very dedicated and committed. He worked for the same company his whole life. He worked hard. By the time he retired, he was really respected by all those that he worked with, right? And directly or indirectly, he was a man of great integrity. And so they both influence me and guide me, trying to be a person of integrity, and also being committed to those that I work with, those that I serve, those that I'm in community with. Another mentor of mine was I worked at a Lutheran college for 16 years in Wisconsin, and for most of those years, I worked for a president. He ended up retiring a couple years before I left, but he was a mentor of mine, and he was frustrating to me in a lot of ways, and he was bullheaded and stubborn. But there's a component of that commitment, that persistence, that perseverance, that stubbornness. He was 100% committed to doing what was right by students at the college, even if the board of trustees or the faculty or staff or parents were questioning or upset. He was steadfast in saying, I believe this is the right thing for the students of this college, and so this is what we're going to do. And through that stubbornness and willpower, he made things happen. He was not always right. He was right more often than he was wrong. But he was very gracious in his time with me, and so I learned a lot from him. And I'm very different than him, but I learned a lot from him, and I think that's a part of my leadership style now as well.
You've talked a lot about your wife and kids. How have they shaped you?
Yeah. So I was just sitting here thinking as I was finishing that answer that Trish probably has shaped me, I'm sure, has shaped me more than anybody, right, combined. So Trisha is wonderful in so many ways, and much smarter and more likable and more sensible than I am, and so I get all of that a little bit from her. But she has a great heart and a great soul, and really cares about others. She's both creative and wise, and which is a wonderful mix. And so using her as a sounding board, taking her lead and watching and following her, we have a great relationship. We have great conversations, and I just continue to learn tons from her. And again, it's she also, like I was talking about, another mentor. She is incredibly gracious and kind. And just has a big heart, and I'm fortunate that that's been directed towards me, and a much better person because of that. We have 4 kids, and so each of them brings something special that I've learned. Our oldest, who's in grad school right now, is incredibly intellectual and smart and analytical, and is able to understand things. He's the type of person that when we get a new board game at Christmas, every year as a family we get a new board game to play. So he loves sitting down, reading the directions, figuring it out, and so he and I talk about politics, about current events, about things going on, about concepts like artificial intelligence or other things that I don't understand. He can help me understand them. Tyler, our next youngest son, just lives life with a full heart. He just always has a smile and an ear and a shoulder to lend to his friends and to everyone in the family. And so he what I continue to learn from him is the importance of investing in others. Madeline, who's our 13-year-old, is very is shy and very introverted and incredibly creative and big-hearted, a great reader, and just has a great passion for justice, for social justice for others, and she shares that wonderfully. And so I learned that from her. And our youngest, Gwen, is a terror, but also she has a great spirit, and she is not afraid. I worry that she's going to run out into traffic or run off a cliff sometimes, but she just dives right in and just enjoys everything and finds the good in everything. So really, at the end of the day, I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate because of my family, and continue to be shaped by them. Yeah.
For our next topic, what does experiential education and experiential learning mean to you?
Well, there is still a lot I still am learning about experiential education and learning because there are so many experts here on this campus, right? So going to the experiential education division and thinking, I see wilderness leadership and experiential education. I see, the outdoor activity, the active learning, the classroom learning, the activity, the reflection, the journaling, the adaptation, and starting over again. I get all that in terms of what I think about with the Willie program, outdoor stuff. But then also talking with Megan and Betsy and thinking about K-12 education and the importance and power of bringing experiential education into the traditional K-12 classroom is there are things like this that I continue to learn, and I'm sure that I will. But to me, it means actively engaging with what you're learning, actively engaging with the world, actively engaging with others. And that going back to your first question about what drew me here, this is one of the things that drew me here, right? It's a true and genuine and powerful marriage of place, of people, and what our passions are and what we're committed to, and mission with experiential education. So we live it every day in the classroom, in our co-curricular activities, in our lives. A great strength of the college, something that I will be learning about, I'm sure, for years to come. What it means to me is it's part of the heart and soul of who we are, and that's exciting, and that's important for us in this world of higher education. But at its heart, to me right now, what it means is an engaging, the most engaging way to learn and develop and grow as a person, which is active engagement with the material, with the lesson, and where that intersects with the world, and being intentional about that process.
All right, so now for the fun part.
Uh-oh.
So tell us a little bit about where you're from and your past experiences.
Okay. So we moved around a lot when I was young. So I was born in Bloomington, Indiana, and North Carolina is the 14th state that I've lived in throughout my life. So we moved a lot when I was young, and then I moved a lot throughout my career.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you name all 14 of them?
Indiana, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Louisiana, New Jersey, Florida, Puerto Rico. I'm counting Puerto Rico, not a state but a territory. Wisconsin, Kansas. Oh my goodness. New Hampshire. Ohio, did I say Ohio?
No.
Ohio.
You haven't said Wyoming or North Carolina.
So the furthest, and North Carolina, of course. The furthest west I've lived, though, is Kansas. Just about everything has been east of Mississippi River region. So anyway, so I moved around a lot, but I graduated high school in Miami. Between second grade and graduating high school, I was in San Juan and Miami. I have 5 younger brothers, and the morning after I graduated high school, we moved to St. Louis. So my 5 brothers all graduated high school in St. Louis, and 3 of them still live there. My parents lived there for as long as they were alive. So for my family, St. Louis is kind of home. And so for me, I never lived there full time, but that's where I would go for Christmas and holidays and stuff. And so that's how I ended up at University of Missouri, which is where I got my undergraduate degree. And then I moved to Iowa and got my master's degree at Drake University. And then I got received my PhD at University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin.
What did you major in when you were in college?
I was an English major. When I was in college, when I was in college, I wanted to be like John Padgett, and I admit, and so I majored in English.
Okay. All right. So, is there anything about like your academic career or your like career in general that you would change?
Wow, that's an excellent question. I don't. Well, you just asked me about places that I lived, right? And then also thinking about that and jobs that I've had. I don't know if this is just who I am. I don't know if it's nature or nurture, if it's just who I am, or if my life experiences have brought me to this place. But I really don't look back and say, I wish this was different, or I wish I would have had that job instead of this one, or moved there instead of here. To me, one of the things that drives me is really, really important to me is to find joy and beauty in life. Right? To me, that's a central purpose of life, and not just for pleasure and enjoyment, right? But to help guide what we should be doing, what we should commit ourselves to, the beauty, the beautiful, the excellent, right? Not happiness, but joy, right? Deep joy, and so for me, when I was even as an undergraduate student, I have always been the type of person that every time I go into class, I am interested to find out what we're going to learn there. There's something in that class period that I'm going to enjoy, that I'm going to think about, that's going to send me off on a quest, even if it's short term in my mind. All right, what does this mean? How does this fit with what I know? What could be the possible implications of that? So whether it's going into class, whether it's going into a job, whether it's moving a new place, I just know in my heart that there's something worthwhile and beautiful in that place, in that job, in this relationship, in this interaction with the person. And to me, that's the fun of life. That's the fun of an occupation, of a job, is being able to come each day and say, wow, today I get to talk with Anna and Caroline, and I wonder what they're going to ask me, and this is going to be really cool, and I will learn more about who we are as Brevard College from this interaction, and more about them. And so it's just that spirit of fully embracing it. So anyway, that's a long way of saying that I don't know. There are a lot of things I would have done better. There are a lot of things yesterday, and since I've been here, that I could have done better. I constantly want to improve, but I don't know that I would change anything, especially anything significant. I've been very, very blessed throughout my life, and so I'll take it all.
I have a question. It's related back to when you came for your initial interview, toured around. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you then. You might remember me from then.
Okay.
So do you have any... So at this campus in the past years, one of the most famous things was Pisgah. Do you have any plans to get a dog? Because I've heard some rumors about that.
Well, so I'm allergic to dogs. And Trish knows that if we get a dog, despite the enthusiasm Madeline, Gwendolyn, and I have for a dog, Trish will end up caring for the dog. And so Trish and I have always said, no dogs, no pets, nope. It's hard enough taking care of you two, to Madeline and Gwendolyn. And so we always try to tap dance around that question. Alas, we've committed to getting a dog. We will be getting a dog.
I called it.
On... I think we pick May 21st. I think we pick up the dog. So it's a Havanese. It's just born and over by Charlotte. And so we have videos of him, and we'll be going to pick him up on May 21st.
Aww. The rumors have been going around the school.
The rumors have?
The rumors.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've heard rumors of you getting a dog in the next Pisgah.
Yeah, so not Pisgah. We love the name Pisgah, right? But we can't do that, right? Or David and Lynn would beat me up. I don't want that. So Blue. The dog's going to be named Blue.
Oh, okay. I like that.
The next mascot of Brevard College, Blue the dog.
Blue the dog. Okay. So, what do you like to do for fun? In your free time? What are your hobbies? What thrills you?
So I'm a runner. I like running. It grounds me and just quiets my mind and gives me routine. I love hiking and being out in the woods and on the trails. So we love to do that. I love to do that. I really enjoy golfing. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get that into the schedule. Also, I'm a reader. I like to read. I'm not. Trisha is a much better reader than I am. She reads much more high class stuff. I read more like spy novels and more recent fiction and stuff like that. But I love to read. But mostly, it's just spending time with the family.
If you could recommend a book, what book would you recommend?
All right, so 2 books. One, the most recent book I just finished was The Signature of All Things by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it's kind of it spans, I think, over 100 years. It's kind of like an epic through the eyes, looking at a family and this one really incredible, strong, intelligent woman and her life and her inner life, and and I think it's the first Elizabeth Gilbert book that I read. Trish recommended it and loves it, and I think she's great. And then the other book, probably my most favorite book of recent times, is called Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Tolle, and so Amor is so it's a very popular book, and it follows the life of one man over close to 100 years in Russia and kind of under house arrest for about 70 years or something like that in this grand hotel. But anyway, both of those books, I think, to me, what I get out of them, one, it's splendid writing and great characters, and I love that. But two, they both kind of give insight, I think, to the human condition, what it means to be a human being, and what it is to go through this life, and what matters and what doesn't, and tragedies and celebrations, and how does all that make a life. And so I enjoy reading books that inform about the human condition.
So you talk a lot about your wife. Where did you meet her? Because this sounds like a great love story.
So she and I actually worked together, and she was in higher education for a long time. She was in residence life, and she worked a lot of years at a large community college outside of Chicago, doing academic advising. So we met through our careers, and we worked together. At first, I was actually, for a short while, her boss, anyway, we got along very well from the beginning and worked well together, still work well together, and then ended up, when we were apart, ended up being set up sort of on a semi-blind date by mutual friends, and we've just, we've pretty much, well, my take, I have enjoyed every minute of our relationship, every minute of our life together, all the ups and downs, all the struggles and everything, and we were meant to be together. Yeah.
Okay, so another question I thought of while you were talking.
Okay.
So you sounded like the nerd in school, because you sounded very interested in books.
Yes.
But were you also an athlete and any sports or anything like that? Because Brevard's a very athletic school.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Madeline, my 13-year-old daughter, just asked Trish about this, and so I was an athlete. I was an athlete in high school. I was a starter on the football team. I actually was recruited by Mars Hill to play college football there, but I chose not to continue with athletics when I went to college because I just wanted to enjoy. I love these 4 years. I love the college experience, right? It's transformational. We're becoming who we're going to be in a lot of ways, moving from childhood to adulthood and finding ourselves in our career. And so I wanted to drink it up. I wanted to fully live the college life and student activities, all the different things. So I didn't do athletics in college, but in high school, I was an athlete. I've been involved in student government, orientation, student activities. When I was in college, I was part of we brought concerts and films and things like that. So I got to bring meet some pretty cool people doing that. So I am not I'm not as nerdy as I look. That's what I would say.
And so for the next while you're still getting adjusted to the school, where can students find you to meet you? If the student wanted to meet you, what would you say to them?
So we tried 2 or 3 nights a week to go to eat in the cafeteria. We're typically in there between 5 and 6. I'm trying to get out to the cafeteria at lunchtime to eat, like 11:30. Oftentimes I'll be sitting with Josh Wilkie or faculty over on the side there. So there. Also, my office door is always open. I've got meetings and things scheduled, but folks drop in all the time. Students, community members, faculty, staff. So students are welcome also to seek me out, come to the office, stop by the house. In the evenings, the girls have dance and swim and things like this, so we're kind of running a taxi service oftentimes in the evenings. But stop by, knock on the door, meet Blue. I understand that David and Lynn would have students stop by and take Pisca for a walk, and so it seems to me we're sort of obligated to continue that same tradition,
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
You will be stopped by students when you walk around campus, and they will want to pet the dog.
Yes, yep.
And then I have 2 hard questions.
Okay.
An interesting fact and something unique about yourself. I didn't say they were easy.
An interesting fact and something unique about myself.
It's funny, I was going to ask what a fun fact.
I don't know that there's that much that's interesting about me.
How about
I think you're interesting.
So here, so this was an interesting experience that I had, okay? And it relates back to a book. So I was in Washington, D.C. once for a conference, and I'm walking around, and there's a theater not too far off the mall, and there's a famous bookstore in Washington, D.C. called Politics and Prose, and it's an independent bookstore. And so Tom Hanks was there that evening in 1 hour as I'm passing by, being interviewed live on stage as part of a book tour. He'd released a book, and so he's out there. So Ann Patchett, who's a great writer, and she also owns an independent bookstore in Nashville, so she was there to interview him. So for book people, this is kind of cool. So I'm walking by, and I'm like, well, what does it hurt to ask? So I went up and said, hey, do there happen to be any tickets left for sale? And it turns out second row center, 2 people had backed out, so I bought those tickets. So I ended up sitting pretty close to Tom Hanks and Ann Patchett as they're talking. And so one of the questions that Ann asked Tom was about what's a recent book that he read that he would recommend. And so he recommended Gentleman in Moscow. And so then I went, as a weak-minded person and easily influenced, I went and bought the book and loved it. I've read it 3 times since. So anyway, that's how I came across Gentleman in Moscow, is Tom Hanks recommended it to me. I'm pretty sure he was speaking to me. I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, it had to. It had to be.
Okay, what do you...
Okay, so do you have any more questions?
No, that's all I can think of.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up, but before we wrap it up, what piece of advice or piece of knowledge, what words do you want to leave students with?
Well, so I think this is germane. It actually is, with apologies, I'm just on a mental roll here, but going back to that same Tom Hanks interview, right? And he was he was talking about Amor, the author of Gentleman in Moscow, was a friend of his. So Amor worked in finance. I think he got degrees at Harvard and Yale, including literature. But he went into finance, and so he worked in New York City. And I think when he was about 40, he decided to start writing. And so Tom Hanks told a story of talking with Amor and saying, Amor, why did you leave finance and get into writing? And so, and as I remember the story going, he said, look, for 20 years I lived in Manhattan and I worked in Manhattan, and I'm amongst concrete and buildings and people, and I'm looking down and I'm going, and I started to have trouble finding beauty. I'm just seeing concrete and hustle and hectic lives and situations, and I'm going into buildings and out of buildings, and I was having trouble finding beauty. And then one moment it occurred to me. I just stopped and I looked up, and it was the most beautiful moon. And so I realized that even when you lose sight of beauty, or you feel like you're in a situation where you're not at all, you're surrounded by things that are not beautiful, if you just pause and take a moment and look up, you can find beauty. And Amor was saying that that's what led him to realize he wanted to chase beauty, he wanted to spend the rest of his life seeking beauty. But what I heard in it is that an important reminder that things don't go the way we want them to go. There are a lot of stresses, there are a lot of challenges, there are lots of grief and loss in life, and a lot of setbacks. And sometimes I think I lose track of just feeling like this is a grind. And I just need to remind myself that wherever I'm at, I just need to stop and look up, and you can find beauty. Or stop and look across the table, and you can find beauty. And this is an important reminder for me. And as I think about these last 2 years of our lives, and as I think about the challenges that you're facing as students, and everything that you're doing and trying to figure out, a world where there's a lot of conflict and conflicts and uncertainty and stress and challenge, all of that is true. And this doesn't make that go away. But also, there's beauty, and it is accessible if we pause and remind ourselves to find it. And so I think what I would love to share with students is just a reminder to, especially when you feel like you're losing your grip, right, or things are particularly overwhelming, to stop a moment and look wherever it is that you find beauty, because that's an important thing for all of us. So I think that's what I would share.